The sights and the sounds of the beach brought to you by a cup of rain. I figure I always have that some stupid idiotic. I've told y'all before that I pay so much attention because you're like, you never know. So, first of all, let me explain the lighting. Okay, when I'm right here, I get it. My shot is so dark, it's not right. But here's what I want to show you is that as the sun comes up, I'll come into light, but I can bring you what is the beauty of John's Pass, and of course the Treasure Island or John's Pass Bridge and Treasure Island right here. I'm at Krabby's on the Pass. Thanks to the staff, Daniel and Amy, our bartender. Thank you to the staff here at Krabby's on the Pass. I can move. I'm not centered, but I can stand in the light so you don't see this big dark. When I'm in the shade, it's really well Halloween in a couple of weeks, right? But yeah, having a spiritual Sunday. Got a couple of guests going to come on with me, of course. Bucs at Carolina. They're against the Panthers today, 3-3. We talked about the 2018 loss to Pittsburgh. Talked about the squeaker against Atlanta a few weeks back. Trying to think back today, and kind of what I'm thinking about is, okay, what kind of adversity has Tom Brady faced, or what kind of, what situations, of course, even in 2020, before they go on that 4 in a game to finish the season after the bye week against Minnesota, that first game, and then of course rocket through the playoffs in one of the most fantastic, not just for Buccaneer fans, for all NFL. And I always have to, I don't know how many more years we're going to have to wrap it like this, but during a pandemic and doing the socially and just rocking it. And there's a story there that even as we get further away, just like 37, Super Bowl 37, the Buccaneers' first championship in team history, the further we continue to get away from 2020, we're going to go back and they're going to really do a deeper dive. They're going to do a COVID dive or the pandemic or the sports during the pandemic. And we've kind of seen it with the NBA bubble. And I'm getting way off the beaten path. So let me just go ahead and start off by saying, please do me a favor, share the show. Yes, I'm standing to is it stage right? But for you, is it stage left? I'm not 100% sure this morning, but left the house. Such a beautiful morning. 63 degrees it was about an hour ago. It's probably about 64, 65 now in the sun. Going to get a little bit of a tan going, but driving down here, throw on the radio. And it's funny, I always have a fight with my kids. They always want to play their playlists and bury the lead, their group playlists. But I'm like that guy that's like, no, I just want to do spontaneity. I want the local radio. I want to hear, I want it, how this day is going to take. I'm going to sound like a Buddhist monk here, but how this day is going to take off is going to depend on the playlist that the disc jockey there's playing. So I turn it on 98 Rock. Of course, 98 Rock is your Buccaneer game day station, as well as your pre and post game show. Motley Crue. And I'm just wasting a little time at the top of the show before I get some people in here. I still see some people coming. Oh, comment. Please comment, because that's why I'm not even going to run my showrunner today. Oh, not even going to run my showrunner today because I want to make sure that we're not getting squashed by any kind of an algorithm that says, this, music is not copy. We're muting this in countries where Meta doesn't have copyright music. Okay, but I own the song. I bought it and my wife did the video for it. Footage Bound Productions. There's a plug for you. If you know anybody, you yourself or anybody may have someone that's going to have a wedding here in beautiful Florida. Trust me, from 10 years of working videography with my wife, it's kind of where I learned to do my shots. And she would be so mad at me because I'm in the dark. But like I said, that sun's just peeking up over the tiki huts down here. So the light's going to get better, so bear with me. The Panthers are a rivalry, and there's been some great moments throughout history with the Panthers, and I just thought we'd talk about a couple of them today. But I'd like to know some of them that you guys, your experience as a Panthers game, having been at Panthers games. One of the things I put on my Facebook page today, kind of was cool with it. Vinny Testaverde, his very last play after a 20-year career as a professional football quarterback or NFL quarterback, they send him in. John Fox sends him in for the last play of a game at Ray J, 2007 or 2008. I'm sorry, maybe it was a 21 year, but he was drafted in 87. 2008 goes out, takes a final knee, doesn't even have, and you'll see on the video I posted, doesn't even. The sun is going to be in my eyes really strong, so maybe I'll keep looking at the camera. Goes out, takes the knee, and the analysts there on the broadcast, but even being there myself that day and seeing when Vinny went out and it felt right. Drafted in 87, those hallowed years through Buccaneer history, walking through the desert. Always think the thing with Vinny at the time, and I'm going to say this for all the oldies out there that are like me, was, well, he's colorblind. He can't see the uniforms. We wore the Bucco Bruce and the Florida orange or the creamsicle. It's funny now. Are we indifferent about creamsicle? Because creamsicle back in the day, it felt like, oh, this is the creamsicles when they actually were the creamsicle in the uniforms before the Bucs get the uniform makeover. But now, of course, an entirely new generation, actually a second generation now of Bucs fans, one who have grown up fully with the new uniforms, but they know the creamsicles and Bucco Bruce. Um, so let me get back to the Panther and the Buccaneer, rivalry and some of the things we can look forward to today. And that'll be some of my guests I have on today. But I got to tell you again, so I got in the car, put on 98 Rock. It's Motley Crue, driving down, going down Park Boulevard. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I'm going somewhere with this. Maybe it's a stupid place, but some reason, now I'm thinking Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue's album, Shout at the Devil. And I'm like, man, those of you out there remember it? Thinking of you, Mike Janowski, this weekend because you're having a great weekend over there. I don't want to say Spook Fest, wherever y'all are at. See the pictures you're posting, having a great time there, locking it down. Beautiful picture, great family pictures. But so if y'all remember In the Beginning, and so there's that entirely, you got to listen to the album because any generation, any age, we know that albums, these when the groups or the rock bands or the bands, the singers go into the studio to record those albums, and they put them on the tracks. Especially, it seems like with maybe it's because we were younger, so we took more time to understand the reasoning for a Dark Side of the Moon or understand a Shout at the Devil and the way the songs are put in order. And then there's part of you that also goes, is it just I think about the album so iconic in order because that's the way they released it and that's the way I listen to it. But so Jam and Shout at the Devil, the album coming down here. Get to a specific song. I want to say it was, what was it? God Bless All the Children. I forgot the name of it. And all of a sudden that sounds, and I know this is nothing football related. I'm actually waiting for the light. Please share the show. I haven't got any comments yet. Anyone tell me at least my audio's okay? I never checked. Okay. All of a sudden, I'm thinking Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears. For some reason, there was a riff in the Motley Crue. I'm thinking No More Ozzy Osbourne. So now I flip it to Ozzy Osbourne, and I'm jamming I'd go right to Ozzy Osbourne's Essentials, not a specific album. So this story feels like I'm taking you nowhere. It finally ends with Crazy Train, which, of course, Crazy Train is, I used it for 10 years calling the games at St. Pete Catholic, but that's the iconic, all aboard, and it's just right before kickoff and kind of get your juices flowing. And our juices are flowing for this game today. I got a Facebook. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something here. Okay, Eric. Thank you. Oh. Yeah, how come the comments aren't coming in here? Live view comments show up in StreamYard. This is an example. Oh, Eric. Okay, I'll try to read them off my phone, guys and girls. Eric says, hi, Cup of Ray. I'm sorry I can't put them on the screen. Eric says, Bucs better win today. Yeah, there's a lot of Buccaneer fans have that sentiment, Eric. Eric also says, I hope Bucs bounce back. Definitely. Oscar Edward Bush says, get rid of Julio Jones, please. Is he a coach? Is he going to start coaching? And then he's also going to, maybe he's going to slide to Amazon on Thursday nights there and sit next to Richard Sherman. I'm kidding. Eric Hartnett says, Mike Evans needs more catch today if they want to win. Yeah, because we can't, and let me talk about Mike Evans for a minute. We can't talk about the incredible feat the 8 1,000-yard seasons are and now going for that 9th 1,000. We can't talk about it and he's the only receiver in NFL history who has done it without at least acknowledging that that's a feat. It's a thing. Going to 2014, the year before Jameis Winston's drafted, and then now up through the Tom Brady years, or through the Buccaneer championship of 2020 years, it is a huge feat. And teams are taking him away. The offensive line got to start getting a little healthy. More on that later on. We'll talk a little bit about maybe Ryan Jensen being back in November. I don't want to go off on that tangent yet because I wanted to stay on this Mike Evans thing. But it's getting to the point now where you're going, a basketball reference, and I hit the light, and you also saw my belly. He'll hit that three-pointer. He's going to get that shot. They're going to get it to him. But, I don't know. Not that I don't think teams will ever lay down at the end of the season, not like Brett Favre did to give Michael Strahan. I'm just kidding. Michael Strahan his 22nd sack of the season. It's funny going back to that. Brett Favre took the dive, but he also, and it was always my friend. I know Mike Strahan, but Mike was coming in pretty fast. So I don't know. You tell me. I wish. Why are comments? Comments. If y'all want to do me a favor, I hate to do this, but on my YouTube page, the show, could somebody go on the YouTube side, just do a comment for me? Because I am streaming to both platforms. And it seems like Facebook messages aren't working at all because I see them on my post, but maybe is it because it's on my own Facebook page? Oh, lots of comments. Eric, appreciate you. Yeah, so working it back to Mike Evans, yeah, got to start seeing because not just to see Mike get that ninth 1,000-yard season, but how much of an integral part of this Buccaneers, the success for this Buccaneers offense in getting the biscuit to Mike Evans, getting him the pill, and a Chris Godwin, and Tom having time, and a nice successful running game, which will set up that play action game, which is exactly what you want to see there at Carolina today against these Panthers. Steve Wilks, the interim coach, takes over for the fired Matt Rule. Kind of saw that coming. I don't know. Maybe Baker Mayfield will end up being a baller for this team and be there for the next decade. I don't ever see him being a thorn in his side like Drew Brees was with with the two-headed monster and there in New Orleans with Sean Payton. Why did I stumble on that one? Um, did I finish my Ozzy Osbourne story? Until I get a comment, I'm just going to riff on this. But again, I got a couple of special guests coming on today. But again, I wanted to thank the staff here at Krabby's on the Pass, the world's largest waterfront bar. And this morning, they got all the tables out here, people eating breakfast. The sun is starting to come up over Treasure Island here. And it's just one of those days, wherever you are. I love I love that I stole this from Corona, but I really mean it because it's how I always feel when I'm coming at you. But I hope today we find our beach. Boats are starting to kind of buzz through the pass. Had some family of fishermen out here. It was great. When I first got here setting up, I said, "Hey, how are they biting?" And we just got here. And I said, "Man, but what a day for fishing." And guy's fishing on a beautiful boat, had his son with him, and he turned to me and said, "What a day, what a beautiful day for anything." Going to talk with my guest coming on the show a little later. He is there I'm going to go ahead and share it. I'm going to call him out because he's going to do his best. JC Allen of Pewter Report. He's in Carolina for today's game. I got to ask him a question, not Buccaneer related. I want to go deep and personal with JC today. So no, I'm kidding. But also, hopefully, I'm going to have my good friend Dolphin guy, Buccaneer guy, but also local guy Richard Rock, the Rock, coming in here, talking a little bit about the Bucs because he is a big Bucs fan, but also talking about Tua coming back. We saw the presser. We've seen a couple of press conferences, a little bit of news, but it does seem kind of like, okay, we acknowledged it, and it has to be, okay? This is a dangerous, violent sport. I'm not going to go into the reason why these players need to be taken care of, and the NFL has to have their backs, and also the reason why they get paid handsomely. King's ransom to play a child's game. I don't even think that was originally. So the sun is starting to come up, right? So I told you all that the light would. See, now I'm just a big glowing head. Ooh, that's scary. um, Got some family coming down here today. They're in town. A little couple of them from California, and a couple of them from, of course, Staten Island, where I'm from originally. My entire family's, and they're supposed to be heading over to get on the plane. Big old jet airliner heading home, but they wanted to stop over here for breakfast, and they may pop in at some point on me. So if they do, bear with me. It'll be total waterworks here. So I still have no comments. So I'm just gonna go ahead and shout out. I'll get into the meat of stuff. I just wanted an excuse to open that Red Bull. Still no more comments, but let's look at this. Not that one. Here it is. So I was talking about Steve Wilks, interim coach. Okay, whoop, got back there. Carolina guy. Didn't know until Friday when I look it up. Played defensive back for 4 years at Appalachia State. That's like our new favorite, our most favorite out-of-state college, because for me, I'm all in state, right? All in state. By the way, heard a rumor: $10,000 for purchase seat licenses, if you will. USF Athletics is trying to get a stadium built there on the site. Because I get the feeling of having a stadium on campus, and then maybe it's not like Ole Miss where they wear the ties and they do the walks or this and that. Of course, Jeff Scott and your USF Bulls park over at the Bucs facility, and then they walk to the stadium. So they do a good walk. The disconnect between not having a stadium on site but having the very nice and well-kept Raymond James within 5 minutes. As a Buccaneers fan, first and foremost, I've hated the times in the past where we've went through September and October and we've had really inclement weather. I said it right, inclement. and the field would get torn up. Of course, bury the lead. The grass and the turf there at Raymond James Stadium is the best in the National Football League. I'll stand by that. Used to be the best in the old Tampa Stadium, the Big Sombrero. Which, by the way, here's a little fact for you: the Panthers never played the Bucs at the Big Sombrero. Never played in old Tampa Stadium. There's a Sunday nugget for you. Hit the share button on that baby. But anyway, I got my guy in here, and he's so busy today. I already talked about him. Just want to talk with him. I am at his disposal. Welcoming to the show right now. Let me make sure I get the right frame up. I'm going to bring in, of course, you know him as JC Allen. I know him as a really good friend from Pewter Report, Mr. JC Allen. JC, how are you, brother?
Doing great, man. Just getting ready to head over to the stadium now. Should be a fun day for football. Certainly fall weather up here in Carolina.
Yes. See, because it's kind of it's starting to get a little north, and that's my first question I want to ask of you. What's the weather like there on the ground? What's the expected high? Is it sunny or overcast?
Yeah, right now it's a balmy 45 degrees, but around kickoff is expected to hover around 70, getting up to maybe 72, 73 degrees once the game is in full swing. So fall weather, perfect football weather. I mean, you can't ask for much more than what you're getting right now.
Perfect. I can already see it. And we've seen it when it was at the Bank of America ballpark. I'm not sure. I know it's a new name now, FTIAA, I think, or whatever. But the sun shines real bright there. But let's go ahead and get to it. Let me ask you something. I went through these numbers today, and I'm just gonna. You and I, we had no pre-show, so I'm gonna throw this. Let me find it. I got it right here somewhere. But basically, yeah, Tom Brady averaging 6.7 yards per attempt this season, only 8 touchdowns so far going into week 7, his lowest since 2013. What is the biggest thing the Buccaneers need to do to not only get everything going right offensively, but to get Tom back into his rhythm of passing?
I think it's play sequencing, and play calling. There's really no creativity or imagination in this offense right now. There's a lot of predictability. You look at their success rate when they're running the ball early. It's among the worst in the league. Versus when they pass the ball early, it's one of the best. And when they're running the ball on first down, they're only averaging a little over 3 yards per carry, which is setting them up in second and long. And then if they don't complete that, it's third and long. And a lot of the times defenses are aware that, okay, they're in second and long. Now they're going to pass it. And it's allowing them to play a different type of coverage if there was some unpredictability to the play calling right now. So I think it's just play sequencing, play calling, and really they just got to get back in rhythm. I mean, this is a team that has been banged up. Guys in and out of the lineup, especially at wide receiver, at offensive line. Once they kind of get that their, if you will, chemistry
Rhythm?
and
Little rhythm going,
back,
maybe?
yeah,
Yeah.
rhythm back. I think they'll be fine, but I don't know if even with a depleted offense such as this against Carolina Panthers, I just don't know if they're. I don't I don't know if they're going to be able to go out there and hang 30 on the Panthers. They still have a tough
Hey,
defense.
JC, I'm glad you made that point because I heard you when you made a similar statement when locking it down with Pat and Aaron's show. Of course, they moved to mornings. I hope there's something being worked out there. But on Friday, you work to that. And I respect that because I want to ask you, Christian McCaffrey's now a 49er. Robbie Anderson, bad attituded himself right out of there. He's now an Arizona Cardinal. So the national feel is this is a team that's not in a fire sale because Fritterer says we're going to make sure we keep some of our young nucleus. But what's the feeling? You've been there now since yesterday. You're there in Carolina today, JC Allen, a Pewter Report. Do you feel it from the fans that this is kind of a year where it's like maybe we'll get a high draft pick, or we're still going to try and make this a great divisional game today versus a foe like the Buccaneers?
It's one of those. It's one of those double-edged swords, right? It's
Right.
Obviously they're not a win now team. They're not even a contender for the division really at this point. Things could turn around, but I highly I highly don't think that's going to happen.
Let's just hope, because
So
here's the
I
thing,
think that if they beat the Bucs, it's something they can hang their hat on.
right?
But at the same time, at this point, I think you want to lose as many games as you can to get higher draft pick because there's some really good quarterbacks coming out of this draft, and it doesn't look like Sam Darnold's not the answer. It doesn't look like Baker Mayfield's not the answer. We know PJ Walker isn't the answer. So
Right.
the higher the draft pick they can get, the better position they'll be in.
Let me ask you though, the young kid Eason, of course, he was who's not a 5-chip Blue Star athlete when he played. He was the most NFL. He played a pro style offense in high school, and then basically he's also on that roster. I don't need you to go 4 quarterbacks deep, but I do agree with you that, Sam Darnold, obviously, there's a Josh Rosen thing going down there, except he had an extra year. And of course, Baker Mayfield, don't see it getting right. But, you said that you don't see him having that year. And I think you're correct on that. But let's be honest, at the end of the day, these Panthers, the 53 in that room, they realize that this game against the Buccaneers today is the last. It's the last chance. You beat the Buccaneers today, which I don't see happening, and now you've situated yourself where maybe you are that gritty team. Maybe you're going to give PJ or Steve Wilks his first home back and win in Charlotte as the interim head coach, being a Charlotte boy born and bred. But you don't feel that from the fans there in Carolina that you've ran into yet, do you, JC?
I just think it's one of those things where, again, if you can play villain to anybody in the division and kind of upset a team that you're not supposed to beat, I think that's exciting for fans, especially fans who are going to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the, maybe some media members and some, more, I think, grounded fans
Right.
want them to lose games so they can have a higher draft pick. So I mean, I guess there's a swing of a little bit of both feelings throughout Carolina.
I'll bet there's a feeling of you're 2 weeks after, so I'll bet if it was last week you'd have heard more about it. But I bet there was a bit of a feeling of relief when Matt Rule, of course, phenomenal coach, coached at Temple just like Coach Arians did, had a great run at Baylor. Seems to not be an NFL coach. He's out of there now. Again, Steve Wilks is the interim, and there must be. Have you heard anything about that from Panther fans you've ran into or talked to, or some of the media there that this is a Steve Wilks team and this team's trying to get an identity for, or is he just sitting in there as a placement waiting for the next coach to come in? You think in 2023?
I think it's most likely just an interim situation. You just kind of see what they've done with Christian McCaffrey. Now they do have Matt Corral, as well. Young quarterback who was talked about as a potential first
I
round
didn't even
pick.
think about Corral. Jeez,
But
yes.
they also, it's also a new coach is going to come in and want to put his own system, his own wrinkles, and I think that's kind of the situation you're looking at. Steve Wilkes will be in the interim. I'm sure he'll get that you know interview that what's a kind of here's an interview for you, for doing a good job. But I don't necessarily know if he's a real candidate.
Good. I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't know if you knew this. Of course, I'm talking with JC Allen from Pewter Report. I kind of waxed over, and you didn't say anything. You heard about the shakeup at WD. I like moving Pat and
Yes.
Aaron. I like moving Pat and Aaron. Of course, I still love having Rich and Blobner there now at the noon. So really, if you stay in one of those slots, have you heard from anybody to make sure they still got JC of House Allen? What's that all about? And then they still got a lineup for you.
I'm not sure where I'm going to be. I'm definitely still be there.
Good.
I don't. I don't think my days are changing just because hosts are changing. So most likely I will be rocking with Pat and Aaron at 8:30 on Wednesdays still, and then with Wretch and Blob at 1:30 on Fridays. So
Oh man, I cannot tell you. I love Chris Mathis, of course, the chosen one. Moving to the afternoons, going to be there now with T. Kraz and Ronnie. But to still have you in your slots, get to have you in the mornings there with Pat and Aaron, and then getting you on with Blob and Retcher at noon. I call him Blob. I've never met the guy personally. Let's go back to this game right here. Dante Foreman, running back. They've got another running back. They're obviously
Chuba
going to try to
Hubbard.
grit it. Do you feel that Oh, thank you. God bless you. Do you feel that Christian McCaffrey now out of here is going to is going to allow this Panthers team, now that they're not having to feed us, the $20 million a year or $20 million guy, that maybe opening up that running game, and of course the Buccaneers defense, that run defense will be ready for it?
No, I think if anything, they've gotten much worse on offense without Christian McCaffrey, who essentially was their offense. They just haven't had the rhythm, whether it's offensive line play, quarterback play, all those things tying together for them not to be able to really utilize guys like DJ Moore, guys like Robbie Anderson when he was there before everything kind of exploded. They just haven't been a high volume passing offense, at least through their wide receivers. Christian McCaffrey has done wonders for them, but he's no longer there. Someone's going to have to pick up the slack, whether that's Deontay Foreman, who had some success last year while Derrick Henry was out, or even Chuba Hubbard, who had success in Carolina last
Chuba
year.
Hubbard,
They
yes.
spent a fourth round draft pick on last draft. One of those guys is either going to step up and say, "Hey, this is my backfield," or it's going to be a rotation type situation. That's yet to be seen. We'll get our
Yes.
first look at it. I have picked Chuba Hubbard up on fantasy, hoping that it's him. Um,
You can't say that on a Bucs show. Well,
so
hope the guy has
I,
negative 10 yards and 3 fumbles, right? I
right,
mean, that's what you
exactly,
meant. That's
right?
what you meant to say. Let me ask you this. You talk about the Robbie Anderson. Is it Anderson, right? No, the wide
Yeah.
receiver. We see wide receivers now. We see a Devontae going out to Las Vegas, and then Aaron's searching, and we see these receivers jump teams, get hidden. You get Anderson out of here. I posed the other night on a Cup of Ray After Dark. If you haven't watched it, don't bother. It sucked. I'm kidding. Not you, but the people watching. But now with name, image, and how long do I got you, by the way, JC?
I got a couple more minutes. We're
Okay,
almost pulling into downtown.
good. Downtown Charlotte. Hey, let me ask you real quick. Couple of questions. First of all, boxers or briefs? I'm kidding. I don't want to know that. When the plane lands there in Charlotte, do you see the Motor Speedway, or do you come in from the east side so you didn't see it and you'll see it when you're
I
coming
don't.
back?
I was stuck with a middle seat, so I didn't see
Oh.
anything when I was landing. So maybe I'll get that window seat this time around, but I don't
Good
know.
luck, brother. Last, I was mentioning Robert Anderson. Now with name, image, and likeness, and the transfer portal basically being free agency at the college level, do you think we're going to start seeing a more rash of wide receivers that when they get into it, when they're drafted, and maybe it goes to other positions, they're drafted, and after 1, 2, or 3 years, they don't feel like or after being with a team, they're not having a success, and they can within 1 week they can just bitch at a coach at the sideline, sit by themselves, burn the interim guy on the way out, and then be on a team later that week, or is that just an anomaly?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Robbie Anderson's been in the league for a while too, and if you look at wide receiver, historically the wide receiver position, in most offenses, they don't really start to flourish until year three. Now there's some outliers, and those are usually the guys who are taken at the top of the draft. But
Yes.
for a wide receiver is a very difficult position to kind of translate into the NFL. It's not just get open and go. There's so many different intricacies with route running and route trees. Learning offenses, quarterbacks, learning the pro style game. Unless you come from a pro style offense in college, if you're coming from a spread offense in college and going to a pro style offense, there's a lot more there for them to grasp and handle. Um, yeah.
No, I got you. I get you, and I thought the same thing too. Because we see this all the time. Where a player erupts, has a problem, there's an issue. It's probably more underlying issues going on. Let me ask you this now. Of course, JC Allen from Pewter Report. Last question, and I'll get you out of here because you are in Charlotte. I want you to soak it all in. Have a great day. Well, I want 2 questions. One, I'll ask for your prediction on the game. But my first question is, what's the overall mood of this Buccaneers team that you see going into this Week 7 matchup versus today Panthers today?
Uh, well, with the team, it's definitely frustration
Okay.
and focus. They're frustrated about the way they performed, and they're focused on trying to get better. What that entails and what that means they've done in practice and in post game. Post practice meetings, um, players only meetings. What they're going to do about it is the real question mark, the real concern here. You can be upset all you want, it's like in life. You can be upset all you want, but unless you make the changes necessary to overcome the obstacles, nothing's
You
going
see,
to change. So,
I hear what you're saying, and this has also been the theme. The underlying theme this week is everything you're saying is a roundabout way of saying execution, and that's what we need to see today. I mean, it's right though, right?
execution.
I
Right.
mean, my offense's execution. John McKay would say, "I'm all in favor of it." Let me ask you this now. I like what you said. I think we're going to see a gritty Panthers defense today. I think we see an offense that's going to be way undermatched, and we're going to see a Buccaneers defense that's pissed off. So you've already kind of alluded to maybe you'd play the under. I won't ask you that, but what's your prediction for today's game before I get you out of here?
I have got the Bucs 23 to 13. 23-13.
Okay.
I think the Bucs probably get 2 scores. Ryan Suckup comes out for a few field goals. Maybe the Panthers find a way to get in the end zone, a couple field goals.
South
Um,
Carolina guy too, Mr. Ryan Suckup from South Carolina, played for South Carolina Gamecocks, Mr. Irrelevant. Brother, enjoy your day.
I'll even give you a bonus score prediction because I'm with
Okay,
Pewter Report's Josh Capo here as well, and he'll give
please
you a quick rundown in his score prediction.
go ahead, Josh. Please.
I've got it a little bit further out. I'm saying Bucks win 27-10.
Yeah. See, now I like both, but I like that one a little bit more. It feels a little bit like because this has been the Panthers lead the series, but this is kind of best. Those sketch score seems to be more like an NFC South game between the Bucs and the Panthers. Guys, thank you so much. Of course, the Computer Report, JC Allen, Josh. I can't thank you guys enough. And Josh, JC, let me know when for sure you're locked in and when you're going to be on the WDAE, so I can make sure to share the hell out of that.
Absolutely. Appreciate my man.
Take care, guys. Enjoy your day.
All right, later.
Of course, Pewter Report in the house. Thanks, guys, for coming in, talking a little bit about today. I still have a little bit of history, but I got my guy next up. I already gave the introductions. I want to make sure I'm not running late because I am going to be on the Over Under show on 1252 Sports. Shameless plug. Thanks to the staff here at Krabby's on the Pass. I hope I'm starting to get a little bit, I'm going to have to start wearing tanks so I can work on that base tan. Go ahead and welcome to the show. My guy, he needs no introduction. Call him The Rock. Dolphin, The Rock. Rock, how are you today, brother?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Let's just jump right into it before we get into anything. I kind of mentioned in the opening about the Tua thing. We saw the thing this week, and we talked to him and everything. We're glad to see that cat's doing well. We know he's a gamer. He's coming back. Hasn't been a whole lot of other stuff. Do Dolphins fans feel like they're kind of just like we're on eggshells right now? Because just 12 minutes ago, Tua wasn't the guy, but he was the guy, and maybe he wasn't the guy if Brady would have been the guy. But of course, this season he was off to a great start, and that's one of the reasons why I think the concussion thing was such a huge blow. We don't want to see any player get hurt, but he was actually having a great season. Like to see him get back into it. But what do Dolphins feel about getting Tua back today?
I think it's a mix of feelings. I think the biggest knock onto it was consistency with his health. Can he stay on the field?
Right.
There is some questions about can he throw the deep ball. I think has been squashed. Staying on the field. If he can just consistently, throw the ball away. Just throw it away. Just throw it away. Dude, you have 5 seconds on that play. Throw the ball away.
Or take the slide. Take the slide. Be smart. Live to live. You see Tom Brady, I got to be honest. I gave him grief. So we can transition to the Bucs a little bit. I gave him grief last week. Not so much so. Of course, he was at the Kraft wedding. He misses the team charter. Wasn't for the walkthrough. The guy's 72 years old. He's got 73 Super Bowl rings. Probably earned it. But, you see Tom, he just throws them. They bounce. And how many times, I don't know how sometimes Tom gets away with the throwing it away when he's not really outside the tackles. And you'd like to see some of that from Tua. Just live to fight another day, literally, but figuratively as well, and then go ahead and keep the drive going. I'm sure Mike McDaniel, coach of the Dolphins, feels the same way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are understanding that if Tua stayed healthy, we'd probably be 5-1. I think the way he was playing, we would have beaten the Jets. I don't care what people say. That score is misleading. A lot of things happened at the end of that game. And then Minnesota, we would definitely they punted a record-breaking, I think, 9 times.
I know.
And we couldn't, it's so to me, we've had 3 straight games where our starting quarterback gets knocked out of the game.
Oh yeah.
So, and when the backup comes in, sometimes they can will you to a win, but a lot of times they don't. I love the dance.
I didn't know you could see that. No, I'm testing my shot while you're talking.
Oh yeah, it doesn't break the. But a lot of times they're not in the game plan. So, it's been a rough 3 weeks having Tua back. I think we're all excited. I'm at basically, if he can't stay healthy, we need to go all in and try to get Lamar Jackson because this team.
Oh, don't go there yet. But yeah, I mean,
am. Look,
the thing is, if Harbaugh, because if he's not ready to pay a quarterback $40 million a year because they feel he's more of a system with the tight ends and the running back as gifted as he is. And of course, being a South Florida guy himself, I mean, wouldn't that be a dream?
Yeah. Well, also the Bucs. I mean, Tom Brady's last year, if we should be fighting over Lamar Jackson, to be honest. And maybe some Bucs fans no, dude is a game changer. He'll get out of the pocket, throw it up to Mike Evans. Mike Evans will probably have a better year. It's just forget Trask. Go after Lamar. If you can get
come on, man. Why are we trying to be negative on a Sunday? Now I'll say this: if it is Todd Bowles and coach best case scenario, or maybe a scenario, Coach Byron Leftwich, Brady gets back in here, we get Jensen back next month, we get healthy, we make a run, we win 57 out in Arizona, and Byron Leftwich gets hired by another team as its head coach. then you got Todd Bowles continuing to rock it down with what should be one of the best defenses in the league. And then now you got an offense. I don't know. You still have $50 million wrapped up in your receivers for 2 more years. But if you could get Lamar Jackson and go, because a team like the Buccaneers with this defense, which I don't understand. I think Baltimore is too. I think they're going to want to pay him, but we would, run the ball, pass the ball, get rid of the ball. That would be a pretty good marriage, and so would it be with the Dolphins.
Lamar Jackson is, look, he's not a true quarterback to an extent. He's an athlete. He'll make plays for you. So that's where I'm at. I kind of understand. I'm not like that guy anymore. That I grew up watching Tannehill. I grew up watching Jay Fiedler. And that was a long period between both of them. And between that, you had your Ray Lucases, you had your Gus Frerots, you had your so-and-so guys, that Cleo Lemons.
Wow,
there is a quarterback available to all those young people watching this, to the 19 to 16-year-olds and up to maybe even your 20s. It is not, we'll get a quarterback next year. No, if there's a quarterback available, and you know what, Denver, they messed up, whatever. They didn't know they were going to get a different Russell Wilson. I still would have done that deal. Plain and simple. You're getting a quarterback. You know what you're getting.
I get you on that. I agree that you'd still do that deal. But I'll tell you what, people forget Hackett gets hired by the Broncos, the offensive coordinator away from Green Bay. And of course, Aaron Rodgers, the talk was originally early on that somehow he would end up there in Denver. Not having a great year in Green Bay, not feeling it, not with Devontae. I don't know what's going on. I start to think, wow, that would have happened.
Reminds me of Joe Philbin. Like, was it the quarterback that made the offensive coordinator, like Adam Gase? Like, Jay Cutler had one great year, and then you got Peyton Manning as your quarterback. Is it the quarterback making the coordinator look good?
Right.
And then it's like a deceptive type of deal, because that offense looks putrid. You got one of the best young receiving cores, and you can't do anything with it. You got Jared Jeudy and who's the other receiver? I can't remember his name now. But geez, that they should be humming.
They should put Surtain Jr. on offense, because that cat, man, I'll tell you what. I think Patrick Surtain Jr. does play with the Broncos, right? He's a defensive back.
He's their star. Okay. He's trouble. Yeah, he's doing great.
What up? I knew it. Name drop, so I'm good. Again, thanks to when are you going to join me out here at Krabby's on the Pass so we could do this thing live? I'll have the soundboard. We can start doing Bloody Marys at 7 a.m. By the time we come on, we just have a nice little, the rhythm going.
When I don't have chores to do.
I felt that. Of course.
Yeah. I got to clean the tub here in a little bit. So,
dude, I'm gonna let you. I'm not gonna keep it because I'm only on for so long. Well, it was 9:24, but I was mentioning yesterday. Of course, did Maggiano's. It was my beautiful wife's birthday, and I was noticing yesterday sitting there, and we've all done Maggiano's. But sitting there with my wife, and I sat just for some reason the way we had a big table. The way I set up. What's that?
I saw the pictures.
And I realized, that was actually from Friday night. That's when we were doing hits from the bong. I'm kidding. That was the family, my mom's family. Last night was my wife and, of course, my in-laws. Yeah. But I sat across from my hits from the bong. Why did I say that? I'm thinking that's taking hits from the. Okay, whatever. That's 3 times now. I think I'm gonna get copyrighted. But my wife and then my 3 kids, where I'm sitting across from them for the first time in a long time, and I'm like, man, I'm lucky. I got a beautiful family, and it was my wife's birthday, but. Fortunately, I kept it real, didn't eat too much because, sometimes as good as the food at Maggiano's is, you leave there with more regret than happiness.
Yeah, you're hurting afterwards.
A little bit. Okay, so I took your way off the beaten path. Do you remember when the Carolina Panthers came into the league in 1995?
Yeah.
Okay, so you remember that within a couple of years, they're a playoff team. They're formidable.
Yep.
And, of course, the thing was they had changed the the rules for the expansion drafts. Mm-hmm. So teams had to put better players on it. Unlike when the Bucs come into the league in '76, and basically we picked up everyone's injured. I keep looking over my back because I have family coming. I want to make sure they don't scare me.
No.
But you remember that the Panthers had a team that was good real fast. But
yeah,
of the NFC South opponents, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints, which rivalry do you feel the most, and why?
Falcons, Bucs.
Yeah, tell me why. Falcons, I love this.
Because they have work done at one point in time. They've always had that.
Rich McKay.
Rich McKay. Well, Michael Vick versus the early 2000 Bucs was always must watch. It was some fun games. And they had good teams. Work done coming back to the Bucs, playing against them, and still playing well for a couple of years.
Yes.
They always had a good team. It just, for some reason, they just can't seem to find consistent. They had it when they had Matt Ryan for a long time. I think they just missed that window. They flubbed that Super Bowl. You know,
Well,
they
Mike Smith had that team on the cusp of greatness for like 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden he lost that locker room fast.
It's just consistency. When you don't have consistency, when you don't relate to your team, and you don't see the heart, you know, the pulse of the team, you lose it, and you think you know it.
Yes,
locker room. It happens to the best of coaches. Some reason or another, Bill Belichick seems to continue to do well. I don't understand it. I thought they were finally done.
You see, I think that him and Giselle were both in the same Wiccan clan or something. Because
they're like, oh, let's put this.
He's a witch just like Giselle. And it's funny because I said witch with a W. I didn't say what you guys think I did because
no, I heard you.
No, I'm not you, but everyone else thinks, oh, because he's so mad because he's taking Tommy, Game Boy Tommy's head out of the game. Not true.
I don't think that's it either. I think Tom, yes, he has a lot of things, but I think this was coming already with Giselle.
Yeah, I do.
I think that 2 weeks, I think they probably thought they weren't on the same page anymore. I think a lot of people want to throw out rumors. Honestly, it shouldn't even been put out for us to see, but they're in the public eye. It sucks. But, you know, he wanted to continue to play. He wanted to continue to be that guy. He enjoys the most being out on the field with his guys, you know. Yes, he went out to drink, but guess what? He's a GOAT. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
When he wants like this many rings and he can go like this and show, oh, look at all my bling. You can do that. Because at the end of the day, yeah, he probably had an okay game. I didn't watch the game.
But I'll tell you, Rock, let me, if you don't mind, because before I lose it, because you know how this head works.
Yeah.
Kind of thought the same thing when Tom first announces after the 40 days as Buccaneer fans, 40 days walking through the desert. Tom announces he's coming back for season number 3 as a Buccaneer quarterback. It wasn't even then, because right then I was thinking, well, it could have been, Jack's not playing football games yet, and the family just loves it here in Tampa, and they're going to give it one more year. So Giselle said, okay, Tommy, make a run at it. For me, it was when like 5 minutes after he announces he's coming out of retirement, 5 minutes later, he announces a 10-year deal with Fox that, Brock, we know this, that it takes this much less to be a color analyst for Fox to cover these games like a Romo or like an Aikman, of course, in Buck now on Monday nights. Takes about this much less, but you still have to devote most of your life to studying film, analyzing, flying to the locations, interviewing both teams in the green rooms, and being ready for that broadcast. And I think that's the point where Giselle was like, "Oh yeah," and that's so whatever.
I think we're missing out with all these former players becoming anchors now. I saw a quote about it. I forgot who it is. We're missing out on the guys that actually go to journalism school, to actually follows football and sports in general with all these former players. Yeah. Oh, you get Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning's good, but you get these others like maybe not a Vilma, but a couple of, I can't think of them, that aren't that good. And you're missing out on all the great journalists, like all the great guys that actually know their stuff. Adam Archuleta, there's one. He did our Dolphins game. He didn't have a clue about Tua whatsoever, but he just went off the old narrative, and you can see his bias. We need more unbiased journalists calling these games instead of former players. It's getting annoying.
I'll tell you what, I can kind of dig it. As far as calling the games, you don't have. When we go back and think about a Vince Scully, and think about a Keith Jackson on college game, college football, big ABC games. Some of the voices, Major League Baseball, they lose Joe Buck because, of course, I tell you what, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on Monday Night Football.
I love it.
Lockdown, right?
Yeah,
It lockdown, and you're talking about a guy that used to, at one time, I had Dandy Don Meredith. I had, this is how it goes south, and then at some point. Anyway, I just lost that one, but lock it down. But I think you're talking about overall in this day and age, we've kind of gotten where it's all about the and this is not just with sports. That's what's sad. But with the sports, maybe it's not as sad, but it's all about what's going to get the most refollows, the most retweets, what's getting the hottest run, what is trending, instead of where there's some really great writers out there who are storytellers. Okay, that was
exactly. Well, that's true. You bring out a lot of good stats. You bring out a lot of good knowledge.
Right.
And you're right. It's all about what's going to get you the most clicks. And if you say you just follow what everybody else is doing, you're going to get the most clicks. But you always get that one person that possibly goes against the grain, and then all of a sudden maybe that narrative is wrong, and that one person was saying no, no, no. Then that person starts getting the follows because they're truthful about the whole thing from the get-go.
You follow football kind of like me. We're locking it down. We have full-time. We're full-time dads. We're full-time husbands. We also have a full-time job. We work together at a Holiday Inn. I'm kidding. I don't know why I said that. We didn't sleep at one last night.
No.
What did Troy Aikman say a couple of weeks ago that was such a big thing? If you don't know, then I don't blame you because I don't know because I'm too busy following the Bucs and trying to analyze. What did he say? Something about concussions? No, that's what it was. He said something about quarterbacks being protected. And which the irony is that, of course, Lee Steinberg was both Troy Aikman's and Steve Young's, agent back in the day in 2000 when the NFL started. When Paul Tagliabue and then Roger Goodell started going, oh, well, maybe there is something here. Maybe there is something with concussions. Their agent, Lee Steinberg, put on a PowerPoint presentation, put out a seminar because, of course, Troy Aikman, back injuries and concussions, ends his career prematurely. And then Steve Young, we all remember when Steve Young was out on the field at Candlestick for an amount of time. We remember those days. I don't know if I was asking you a question. I wasn't asking you a question, brother. I'm sorry.
But I'm glad you brought up concussions because I'll go into that because I've been wanting to talk to it on here because I think the NFL is so inconsistent with the rules and biased towards certain teams. It's mind-boggling because not only is Tua out for 2 weeks, but then Teddy Bridgewater doesn't get his head hits the ground, and is out of that game. And then not even, those a couple games you have the receiver from Cincinnati. He gets knocked out. He gets a concussed twice in one game, is able to stay in the game. Then you have not Trey Lance. Who's that running quarterback?
Running quarterback for the Bears?
Yes. In a primetime game, gets hit on the ground, can't get up. So Teddy Bridgewater gets back up, and then he's out of the game, but he's literally can't get back up, but he stays in the game.
And think about this. Go back. Hey, brother, go back 10 years. It seems like 10 because he's not, but remember the hits that Cam Newton used to take, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Cam, because Cam, you're 6'4", you weigh 240, you're running it. Cam would lower his shoulder. But, man, some of the hits where Cam would get hit, and we'd all be like waiting to see if they were going to have to drag him off on a sheet or on a gurney covered with a sheet, and he'd get right back up, and there'd be no personal foul. And I'd be like,
oh, yeah.
And for us, most of the time it was the Buccaneers being a divisional rivalry with it and going. I like that we tied it back into the Bucs Panthers game today.
Yep, at the Bucs,
it's inconsistent. No, your inconsistency is right about the concussion thing. I'll tell you why in a minute.
Carolina is on the. Oh, go ahead. You first. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to tell you why in a minute.
Oh, I'll say Carolina. I remember you the two people in the beginning said that the game one was like 24-10, and I didn't hear the other prediction for that.
Well, J.C. Allen said 2013, or maybe it was 24-13 because he said Suck Up comes in, hits a field goal. And, of course, Josh, also from Pewter Report, was in the car with them. They're there in Carolina for today's game, covering the game, locking it down for Pewter Report. And he's the one that said 27-10.
I won't even give him 10. I'll give him 3. Dude, this is going to be a blowout. I'm sorry. Tom Brady's pissed. Offensive line will get their stuff together. Carolina's tanking. You can obviously see it. It's done. Put a fork in them. They're done. I don't know what quarterback they want in the draft, but they're going to end up getting them.
Let me tell you. Well, they got Matt Corral, the Ole Miss kid, but I'll tell you what. The reason why I like that is because not only do we see this Buccaneers offense get right today. I don't know why. That's the international sign for right. Whatever. But this defense, the only way I can see the Panthers scoring a touchdown in this game would be if their defense was able to get a pick six or a turnover from us. And this Buccaneers offense execution is going to be the rule today. We're not going to give Carolina an easy touchdown on the defensive side.
No, you're not. It's this game is going to be ridiculously lopsided. I don't see Carolina is hurt. They traded Robbie Anderson. I know you guys talked about that. They're on a fire sale right now. I hope we can get Morton from them, the Dolphins. We need an offensive lineman, or we could go get Burns, one together. They can we'll give them multiple draft picks for some of their players.
I will warn you, though, Scott Fitterer, the general manager of the Panthers, he's walking that line where he's like, it's not It's not a fire. That's also the international sign for it's not a fire sale. It's not a fire sale, but because they want to keep some of their key components. But yeah, I mean, I tell you what, getting rid of Christian McCaffrey was big. I'll bet you the Dolphins, you guys would have not minded getting a Christian McCaffrey.
No, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole
because of the injury. Because of the injuries,
well, running backs aren't.
Good morning.
In my mind, they're not as valuable as they used to be. Yes.
Okay.
You can get a good runner. Look at the rookie for Jets. Balling out. Like the running backs don't last long. They're not worth that many picks. And CMC hasn't been healthy in years. So
yeah,
to me, 4 picks like that,
yeah,
Carolina fleeced them because
brother. I'll tell you what. He goes home. Kid comes from Stanford, of course, son of Ed McCaffrey, and of course Buccaneer or Giants fans know about that. But goes home now. He's in Stanford. Maybe gets on that West Coast and goes to a 49ers team. It's not going to have to. He's not the offense in Carolina. Now he's teaming with a Debo and some of the things they're doing with Kyle Shanahan's zone blocking. Man, the 49ers, I think with the pickup of McCaffrey, should that kid just actually stay healthy instead of some freak injury, put themselves in a driver's seat to make it to at least the NFC Championship game. Do me a favor, brother.
How John Lynch come from Stanford too?
Yeah, actually, do you know John Lynch was drafted by the Miami Marlins in the first round of the 1990? You knew that. The ball he threw out, the opening ball he threw out is in the. Okay, yeah, we've covered this. So do me a favor before I let you go. Thanks for coming in, brother. By the way, give me a Dolphins prediction today. Tell us who the Dolphins are playing and where, and then give me a Bucs Panthers prediction.
Dolphins playing in Miami against the Pittsburgh Steelers. By the way, their quarterback Kenny Pickett is playing. He got concussed. Yeah. That's a whole different story. Again.
Oh, you brought it back. You worked it back. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Back to it. I'm gonna go. I believe the Dolphins win 27-10. I think Tua is gonna be playing with a chip on his shoulder. Also, he's playing against Brian Flores again. He wants to kick his butt.
Yes. DC Bucs, for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh yeah. Bucs win 27-3.
Oh, by the way, I got to ask you this. It's par for the course. When the Buccaneers let the Panthers win last week, 20-18 there at Heinz Field, as a Dolphins fan facing those Steelers this week, there was part of you that was like, thanks, Tampa Bay, because you guys know if we would have put an ass whooping to them like we should have, then you'd have been sending an entirely different attitude of a team coming in there today. Or do you feel that we might have given them just enough confidence to give you guys a real good game there in South Florida?
I think either way.
I know, right?
I think Tua had this game circled, whether he would admit it or not. A lot of the players on the Dolphins team had this game circled because of Brian Flores. So they did more hyped up with this game.
Yeah, grudge game. I like it. Grudge game.
They're getting a lot of their players back. They're getting Watt back. They're getting a couple other players back. Minka's playing. So
how about
Waddle's? I think Waddle's playing. I hope so because my fantasy team needs him.
I just like doing the Waddle, baby. That's the only time you'll ever catch this Buccaneer fan doing
Waddle. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, if Tua stays healthy, you will see a resurgence from Miami. We have a little bit easier schedule coming up. I think we play Pittsburgh, Detroit, and a couple others. Detroit's still you still need to watch out for them, but we'll be all right.
Brother, love it. As always, great talking to you, my brother. Rock, locking it down. Oh, I forgot to ask JC Allen from Pewter Report. I plugged that cat enough. You can find him on Pewter Report. He's locking it down. Brother, thanks for coming in here today. Let's do this again sometime. Good luck today against those Pittsburgh Steelers.
You as well, sir. See you.
Wait, you're supposed to say good luck against those Carolina Panthers.
Oh, yeah, good luck with those Panthers. You're not going to need it. You'll be all right.
All right, brother. Take care.
Please.
I went to lock him out of there when he didn't. So, yeah, my friend Rock, thanks for joining me, Rock. We have some of the great – I love the fact that because I was thinking when I'm putting a show together, I'm like, okay – chronic traumatic encephalopathy and concussions, and Tua's back this week, and then the idiosyncrasy or the lack of consistency with the way the NFL's applying. Oh, I didn't tell Rock this, but I'm going to go ahead and share it now. The reason why I feel the NFL is so up and down on the whole concussion thing and the quarterback thing is because at the end of the day, they realize that this is still a very, very brutal sport, a very violent sport that we play, and this is kind of parlay for the course. You know why I'm saying parlay for the course? Because joining me right now, I talked about I'll be on at 10 o'clock with these guys. It's Mr. Peter Blake from the Sports Web and Mr. Harry the Greek from the Over Under joining me now. Hey guys, how are you today?
Hey boy, I see Peter got love first before I did.
Well, yeah, of course. I always get love from Tampa Bay Ray, best of the Bay. Of course.
Well, that's because also
Ray,
brother,
show me your VIG. Go full screen. I want to see the VIG. There you go.
Oh God.
Okay. Wait, hold on a minute, guys. Go ahead and talk for a minute. Let's talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Cover for me while I go off the screen for 1 second.
Jeez. Good morning, everybody, in a cup of Ray. I'm your host or co-host, Harry the Greek, alongside with Mr. Peter Blake. How you doing today, Peter?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. We're just getting ready for our show coming up
I'm
at
so
the top
excited.
of the hour at 10 o'clock. But I tell you what, Ray was really locking it down earlier. He was talking about CTE and a lot of different things that are going around in the National Football League. I'll tell you what, Peter, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Should Tua even ever play football again?
It's his choice at the end of the day. Most likely he shouldn't with some of the concussion symptoms he suffered.
Hang on. Let me remind you. Oh, there's my boy. What's happening?
Oh, now there's the VIG.
Hot damn, baby.
I want.
No,
Look at those handles.
Especially
them
with
love
CTE,
handles.
especially with CTE that's going around. Why is it up to him? Of course he's going to want to play.
Sure.
This guy is going to look, man. I know a couple of football players that obviously have CTE. They're former Tampa Bay Buccaneer football players.
Oh, yes, sir.
And I'm not going to mention any names, but it's bad.
It
I mean,
is.
it's bad. I mean,
You're right.
let's look what happened to Todd Bell of the Chicago Bears. Does anybody need to remind anybody about the gun he put up underneath his throat?
Sure.
Okay.
We've seen Mike Webster. We've seen
Come on.
Andre. I believe it's Andre Waters. You have Junior Seau, so there's definitely consequences to it locally here. Vincent Jackson, who dealt with some CTE symptoms, so it's definitely a scary time.
Come on.
And that's the reason why.
Hey,
guys,
look who it
sorry.
is.
My cousin Candy. I can't. Go Ray. Go Bucs.
Ray.
Mwah,
Give
good
her a
morning.
big
Oh,
hug.
I'm sorry. I did right when I got into my shirt here, guys. I'll
Put,
get you.
put your
over
headphones
here.
on her. I want to talk to her for a
Oh, wait.
second. Put your
no.
My
headphones
cousin
on,
Howie.
Ray.
Oh, I love it. And my cousin Chris. Hey, Jets, Mets, and Jets. Candy, hold on. He wants to talk to you for a minute. Do you mind?
Yeah, let's do
Hold on,
this.
I'll put you on.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Candy. How are you?
Well.
Hey, Candy, I need you to do me a favor because he can't hear you. Just say, hey, Ray, show us your VIG.
Hey, Ray, show us your VIG.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's
he owes
do
money
this.
to the He owes money
Come on,
to the
Ray,
Greek.
let's
There
do
you
it.
go.
Whoa.
There you go.
Looking good. Here, have talk to them.
Jeez. Producing on the air.
This
Hey,
is
what's
not-
going on?
It's Harry the Greek in Tampa Bay. I'm sorry, and Peter Blake. How are you? You're Ray's cousin. Do you actually admit that?
Yes. Well, in these times of pressure and stress, I confess to the most damnedest of things.
No,
How are you guys?
Totally understanding. We're doing fantastic. Hey, I got a question for you. Who do you root for in football? Are you a Buck fan, a Bears fan, a Jets fan? What are you?
We live in LA, so there you go.
Okay.
Was it the Rams or the Chargers?
Is it the Rams or the Chargers?
'Cause
No,
they
it's the
share a
Rams.
stadium.
So
Rams.
of course, it's the Rams. But as a New Yorker, which you might be able to tell from my accent, I'm always like a lifelong distraught Jets fan.
No,
for
you don't
better or
have to be
worse.
distraught anymore.
Well,
This
I told
team is
you.
actually up and
Yes.
coming. The Jets, as a matter of fact, it's one of my hottest picks of the day.
Really?
Are the
Okay.
New York Jets actually did not. They're actually a 2-point favorite. I caught them earlier in the week when they were actually an underdog. So I actually got points. Long story short, they are going to beat the Denver Broncos today.
All right. Well, that sounds good.
It's usually just to end the season, but it's not
But-
this year.
But you do me a favor. Will you give Ray a Staten Island hug and tell him to pay the VIG?
I will do that right now.
You take care.
Oh man! Oh wait! Let me tell you something. I just felt more than I should have. You're gonna come on. You're gonna come on with me. We're gonna talk about the Jets and the Mets. I love you guys. Go eat breakfast. I'll see you in a minute. Can you guys still hear me?
Oh, I can still hear you.
How's that for action? Boy, I got a lot of
Now
thing
we
on that
can't-
one.
We can't not see
So
him.
he was a Rams fan and a former Jet fan, actually.
New York, of course, with my family, we're New York. And then, yeah. So, guys, thanks for joining me here. Let's give me, Harry the Greek and Peter. We're going to be on the over and under here in just about 15 minutes there on 1252 Sports. You got any juice for me today, Harry? I want to
You
make
know what?
a
I'm going to give you a little bit of juice. Actually, I just alluded to it. It's one of my top picks. So for all the people that are out there watching a Cup of Ray this morning on all the platforms, do not be afraid to take the New York Jets today. They're only -2. They're going up against the hapless, scoreless, Russell Wilson-less
Yes.
Denver Broncos.
Yes.
Okay. Russell Wilson is out of this game, but they still have a really good defense. But you know what? Robert Saleh's got these guys ready to play. They are amped up. Brother, let me tell you something. The Jets are here to stay. They're 4-2. They're getting ready to be 5-2. The total in this game is 37 points. That's how good both these defenses are playing. And Ray, do you know what the second lowest over-under total for the week is?
What?
The Bucs and the Carolina Panthers.
I can see it, but what is it? The second.
Can't
Second-
tell you. You're going to catch it today at 10 o'clock.
There
at the
you
top
go.
of the
I love
hour,
it.
The over-under.
Peter
Good
Blake, I
stuff.
got to
Yes.
ask you a question. I asked JC Allen of Pewter Report this question. He's there on the ground in Charlotte. They're heading over to the stadium where they were.
Sure.
What do you think we see out of the Buccaneers today? I mean, we've heard execution all week. I think we're ready to put the Tom Brady stuff behind us. What do we see from the Buccaneers? What do the Buccaneers need to do today to have success against these Carolina Panthers?
If you don't put this team out of your misery, there's going to be lots of concerns. You have to win this by at least 30 or 40 points, honestly. And from what you saw the last for this whole year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they just don't look like their same offense, whether it's offensive line, injuries. Once again, Julio Jones being out of this game. He's made no contribution since the Dallas game. So I don't know what to expect. I would expect a blowout, but they still have those problems.
Cameron Brate, Akeem Hicks, SMB, and Julio Jones are definitely ruled out. And they got about 5 or 6.
And Carlton Davis is out of this game, also their number one corner. So Jamel Dean, who's looking to get paid in free agency, who's done a tremendous job the last couple of years, is going to step in for Davis. So
listen, guys, it's a division game. PJ's at quarterback for them.
Yes.
You know, let me tell you something. They're professional ball players. Everybody's saying how done this team is. They are almost a 14-point underdog at home.
Yes.
There's a reason why the total in this game, I'm going to let it out, is only 38 points because let me explain something to you. They're going to keep everything very close to the vest. Okay. If Tampa Bay tries to come out slinging the ball all over the place, and as you alluded to, they got to just put this team away, they are risking themselves more injuries. This is not a game that they have to do this. This game, they don't need to be passing the ball for 500 yards, Pete.
Yeah, but you can't run the ball on first down and keep on getting stuffed for 2 or 3 yard gain.
And you got to continue to try because this is your get right game.
Not this offensive line. This offensive line hasn't given me enough confidence to run the ball. They ran the ball 27 times.
No.
Hold on.
Yep.
They ran the ball 27 times versus a depleted Pittsburgh Steelers defense, which was missing 3 starters in that back end. It makes no sense at all.
That makes all the sense in the world to continue to do it, to be able to prove. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if they can't run this ball in this Carolina defense, this team goes nowhere.
Well,
this year.
that's why they
Hey,
lost.
guys.
Zero.
That's why they lost against the Steelers.
Before I
it made
get
no
you guys-
sense at all.
No, it didn't. Before I get you guys out of here, I want to ask both of you because, of course, Harry DeGreek, you're also a Buccaneers fan, bury the lead. Couple of moments in Buccaneer history. You guys just answer. I'll give you the moment and tell me 30 seconds or less what you remember from this game. 2008, John Gruden's last season as a head coach. Going into the December game, both teams were fighting, still in contention for the top of the NFC South. The Carolina Panthers come in and run for 299 yards against the Buccaneers. The Bucs dropped the next 3 games in a row to go to 9-7, or was it 7-9? And John Gruden gets fired. Remember that?
It was 9-7, and they were 9-3 at the time. It was at 10:10 a.m. Monty Kiffin just announced that he was going, of course, being the defensive coordinator at the time.
Tennessee.
He was going to Tennessee to join his son as a coach, and basically the air came out of that balloon that night as that defense and that team was pretty good. They were poised to be a number 1 seed in the NFC, and basically the wheels came falling off. And then, of course, the story was, and I heard this from great sources, that John Gruden came into the Glazers. Glazers wanted him. I met with the Glazers. Glazers wanted him to draft a franchise quarterback. They wanted a complete rebuild. Gruden went in, wanted a veteran quarterback, wanted to go in free agency. And basically he had said in so many words, F you. In 30 minutes, he was fired.
You got to respect that. Now, Harry, let me ask you about this memory. 2006, grittiest moment in Buccaneer quarterback team history. Chris Sims fakes the ball, handing it off to Mike Allstott, runs it around on a bootleg, gets hit. It was a hot, steamy game. I was there at Raymond James Stadium. He plays throughout the entire game, but they end up afterwards finding out he was bleeding in his spleen. He loses 9 gallons of internally blood when the body only holds 13. What do you remember from that game, Harry?
He almost died. That's the only thing I can remember. I don't know how he even continued. I mean, the guy almost died.
Yes. I remember that.
You know what? And everybody wants to question Chris Sims. Okay, they want to question his toughness.
Oh, he's nails. Okay?
I mean, let me explain something to you. He's tougher than his father ever would have been because his father had a glass jaw, and that was Mr. Phil Sims with the with the New York Giants.
Sure.
Okay, let me tell you something.
Okay.
His son, Chris Sims, was probably one of the toughest football players that I've ever witnessed next to Jay Cutler. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Wow.
Jay Cutler has taken a pounding like you wouldn't believe. Everybody questioned Jay the same way they questioned Chris.
Sure.
Oh, my God. Oh, my. But when he almost came to death, they were like, oh, you never heard another word about it. What I remember from that was how everybody was talking about how weak Chris Sims was as a quarterback from a standpoint that if he had a toenail, he'd have to sit out of a game. But after he got pounded the way he did,
Yes.
and then they found out he almost died. Did you know that narrative never came up again? No one ever questioned his toughness.
Well,
No,
no,
it was-
and of course he
Well,
had
he never
to
played
be
another-
under
he never
John
played another
Gruden,
game.
who
Never-
could never develop a young quarterback at all. I mean,
Wow.
Sims had some
John
success.
Gruden never loved any quarterbacks unless they were seasoned veterans,
Yes.
a.k.a. Gannon.
Yeah,
Can you imagine if he actually had a quarterback that was young that he could develop? He would have gone down as one of the greatest coaches ever to play the game.
never could do
All right,
it. And
fellas,
Never to
hey,
coach the game.
Before I
yes.
get you out of here, because we got to start this over under, we want to go 10 o'clock square up real quick. I'm going to give you guys a trivia question. Tell me if you can answer it. The year is key here. In 2016, the Buccaneers win with a game-winning field goal last second as it walks off. We literally a walk-off field goal. The Buccaneers win to beat the Carolina Panthers at home. Who was the kicker for your Buccaneers?
Roberto Aguayo.
His moment in history. Am I right, Peter Blake? It's probably the best moment.
And that was on Monday night. That was on
didn't
Monday
you give
Night
me a
Football.
Why didn't you give
Yes.
me a chance to answer
Well, that was on Monday Night
I'm sorry.
Football, and that was
You're selfish.
well, not selfish.
You're selfish.
And
He
Mike
is
Evans, I
selfish.
believe, had a big game, and
Yes.
that's exactly what they need to get out of Mike Evans because four
Good.
targets
Point
Four
of
targets last week for one of your most consistent wide receivers, a Hall of Famer. No doubt should be getting more than 4 targets in this game, and look for Mike Evans to have a big game versus
love it.
the Carolina Panthers.
Listen, this game's going to be a little more tighter to the vest than you can imagine. Trust me when I tell you.
I
this.
hope not, but
It's
I would
going
expect
to
it.
be.
The Bucs have
you
not.
know what? Don't be disappointed, Buccaneer fans. Don't be. I'm not saying that the Tampa's going to lose this game. Do not take it like that. But this is not a game that you want to experiment with your offense. You are already banged up enough as it is. They need to play close to the vest. They know they're a better football team.
Yes.
And you know what? And open it up when they have to. They should make a very vanilla game plan and go home clean.
That's what they had last
uninjured.
week. They had a vanilla game plan, and it didn't work out. They scored 18 points versus a Steeler defense without
Who was
TJ Watt
hungry
and Mika Fitzpatrick.
and then
And
overconfident.
they let Mitch Trubisky be
Hold on,
Joe
hold on.
Namath.
But hold on. Mitch Trubisky is always Joe Namath against these Buccaneers.
Right, that's the problem.
I see
PJ
5 wheel
Walker
routes.
needs to be put into the dirt today by this Bucs
I
defense.
can still close my eyes and still see Tariq Cohen not running 1, 2, but 3 wheel walks.
I could
Real
absolutely
wheelhouse
push you
route.
on the floor right now if
Hey,
you bring
let
that
me-
memory up again with
I
the
know, I
Bears and
don't-
Bucks.
Bad taste. Last memory,
Ugh.
guys. I want to share this just for the Buck fans that are watching, and I'll get you guys out, and then I'll meet you on the other side. In 2003, Week 2 at Ray J. In 2003 at Ray J, of course, the year after the Bucs win the Super Bowl, the Bucs are facing the Panthers at home. Last play of regulation, Brad Johnson hooks up with Keenan McCardell.
Correct.
Keenan McCardell for a game-tying touchdown.
Mm.
But Martin Grammatica's extra point is blocked, and the Panthers win it in
By
overtime.
Chris Jenkins. Yes.
Like Chris Jenkins.
And
Remember
in
that?
that game,
Jesus
in,
Christ. Pete.
in that game, they lost Mike Alstott and Joe Jaravicius at the same time because they had a collision. True story.
God,
And
who
the
doesn't- yeah.
Panthers that year, I believe, went to the Super Bowl versus the Patriots, and they lost in a nail biter.
I
And of
wish
course-
you could remember to take care of your children.
I don't have any. I don't have any children. That's the reason why I don't have any children at this point.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't let him kid you. Peter Blake is a stud. He's got a kid in every county.
Sure do.
Ow.
And now, of course, that was the quarterback at the time for the controls for the Panthers was Jake
Delhomme. Delhomme.
Yes.
Oh.
Delhomme, yes.
Delhomme.
Delhomme. You had Chris Jenkins, and of course, the greatness of Julius Peppers, who made Kenyatta Walker his bitch every year.
Pinata Walker.
I got to go,
Hey,
guys.
All right, do
I
it,
got to
guys.
set up. I'm going to tell you right now, Ray, I can't wait to see you just after the top of the hour. I'm going to be sending you the link here in just a few minutes.
But where am
Don't
I going to
forget-
see you? Where am I going to see you?
You're going to see us here at the top of the hour over on the over-under.
Yes.
On 1252, you can catch it on all the major platforms. Don't tune out. Make sure you follow Ray and come over to the dark side and get all today's hottest picks with Harry the Greek, Peter Blake, and Tampa Bay Ray. Ray, thank you so much for having us on this morning.
Brothers. Oh, man, thank you. I'll talk to you in about 10 minutes.
Cheers.
Sounds
Cheers.
good.
Toodles.
Toodles. So, real quick, I wanted to say this just to finish my story. Again, I got in the car. Motley Crue was on 98 Rock, the Game Day Buccaneers Game Day show. Of course, you're not catching Pat Donovan and Ronnie Lane in the pre and post game show. And then the game on 98 Rock. It's the last year we have Gene Deckerhoff. Listen to the radio, mute the talking heads on the TV, DVR it. Don't miss what they have to say. I'm sure there's something pertinent in there about Tom Brady and his personal life. I kid you. But if you want to hear a great game coverage of the Buccaneers Panthers game today at 1 o'clock, Rock, go to 98 Rock, go to iHeart, find it on iHeart if you're not in our market. If you're in our market, then you got to put it on the radio station and get the Gene Deckerhoff and Dave Moore cover of today's game. And of course, TJ Reeves, the sideline guy. Motley Crue, 98 Rocks, and I listened to the entire Shout at the Devil album. I left the house early this morning. The sun was coming up, took Ruth for a nice walk, and I wanted to enjoy. That's what it's about. This is about. It's spiritual for me. And I hope it's for some of you guys out there, guys and girls as well, that just to play, takes us back when we were growing up, or maybe as we're, getting older, or the 1 o'clock games, especially now that the Bucs have been in the last few years playing so early at 1 o'clock, but it seemed like 9 a.m., 9:30. If we did 9 o'clock mass by 9:40, we had the scrambled eggs and the bacon and the big rolls from Albertsons, and we were getting ready for Buccaneer or football game day. But so let me get this out because it's going to bother me if I don't. So I switched from night. So I have Motley Crue on, and so all of a sudden I hear something that sounds like Ozzy Osbourne. I put Ozzy Osbourne on, and of course that's Crazy Train. So everything happens for a reason. But I'm driving just down Gulf Boulevard, and a car in front of me, squirrel comes running out, does the shimmy in between it as the car runs him over, and then runs over top of where he was, and then he runs to the side. Question for today: are squirrels just crazy dive bombers that are trying to screw with us, or do they just have the worst timing in the world every time? Or do they just cross the street so much? And if that's the case, and I think I found out the reason to why the duck crossed the street, because he wanted to be with his friend, a squirrel, who's been doing it all day long. I hope you enjoyed the game today. I love that I had JC Allen from Pewter Report, my guy Rock. I had, of course, Harry the Greek and Peter. I'm going to join Peter Blake of the Sports Web here in about 5 minutes. Please share the show. I don't know what the heck's going on here. Looks like I've got -10 viewers. I know I've been getting DMs from those of you out there watching it. I appreciate y'all. Share the show so we can spread this love. After we get the victory today, we talked the Dolphins, we talked NFL, we talked history. Hope you have a great day. And you know how I end every one of these. Everyone needs to know someone cares this weekend, today, game day. Why don't you be the one that lets them know? Have a great day, and thanks for joining me here from Krabby's on the Pass for a Sunday morning cup of Ray. A sojourn for the sports savvy soul. Have a great day, everybody. Yeah, you guys know I do that on purpose. I'm just messing. Have a great day, and we'll see you later on the other side.